This Saturday, a day that, Don, I know you and I have been hoping would come.
Yeah, we rooted for it, called for it, screamed for it.
And now we will honor Darryl Strawberry properly this Saturday at Citi Field, and he joins us right now. Darryl, it's Peter and Don. Michael's off. How are you, man?
Peter and Don, what's up, guys?
Congratulations, man. Well-deserved, and you shouldn't have had to wait this long.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. As long as it's taking place, I could be grateful for it, and I just need to celebrate it. I need to celebrate it. I need to get I need to get closure. I need to just get closure with the Mets fans because of the fact of my career and how they treated me, the love, and the ball player they made me. I would have never been the ball player had it not been for those fans, and they need to know that. And I need to say thank you to them. I need to say thank you to a lot of people because it takes a lot of people to get you to this place. You don't just get here by yourself. Yeah, we have talent as athletes, but if you're not on teams with great chemistry and good enough to win and play, you never know what type of player you end up being. I ended up being just a great player because of the teams and the guys I played with and the coaches and everybody else had a tremendous impact on me fulfilling the promises over my career for those 8 seasons in Queens.
Just a quick little piece of breaking news. Edwin Diaz placed on the 15-day IL with a shoulder impingement, so things continuing to fall apart for the current Mets, but we celebrate the past Mets with Darryl Strawberry finally getting his number retired coming up on Saturday over at Citi Field. You know, I'm of a certain age where I was 18 years old in '86, so I grew up a Met fan, and I saw we kept hearing Strawberry's coming, and then you came on the scene there and in late '83, and then in '84, '85 became one of the stud players of the league. And you and Doc, did you know, or when did you know that you guys would be so connected that some 40 years later you would be celebrated in the same season like this?
I think you don't recognize that when you plan. I think you play to win, to be well, to make your city proud of you. And I think that was important to me after that 1983 season, after Jim Fry helped me get going. Jim Fry is a big reason why I became that type of player, because he pushed me into it. Without his help, I don't know where I would be, because I was playing on a team that wasn't, really going in a direction. It was like more older players, and it was over for them, and they were looking at it as a business. And I got a chance to recognize what it was going to be like playing at the big league levels from that year, that rookie year, and then having Keith come over in the trade and having him stick and stay, and then Doc coming up there next year. Now we had some special, because we had a lot of group of guys, a lot of group of pieces that were coming through the farm system. Darling and Stid Fernandez, they came over in trades, but they came through the farm system, and they became like a big part of our rotation. Doc was, a main part of that rotation when he came up in '84 and '85. And then you start to realize that, we got other players. We got other players in the farm system that are good. That's going to be coming too. And Kevin Mitchell came in, and Lenny Dykstra, and we had Mookie, and just so many guys that could play, and that wasn't afraid to play. And that's when you start understanding how special it really is, because when you play on a team with a bunch of guys that are not afraid to fail you, that means you're going to be successful. And that's what happened to us. We turned from the failure part of my rookie year into great success moving forward.
Do you think that if this had not happened with Doc the same summer, would it have been bittersweet for you? Would you have felt a way if it had just been you not knowing if Doc was going to get that honor?
No, not at all. It had to happen with Doc. Doc was phenomenal. I think people don't realize how great he was as a pitcher, and I saw it with my own eyes running out there every day. This guy packed stadium. So, I knew he needed to be honored for what he accomplished and what he brought to the organization, just as well as myself, coming as a young player. You got to understand, I was 21 and he was 19 when he came up. That's a whole lot, to say, well, these guys are going to carry the New York Mets, to the promised land. we were a big part of that. But like I said before, it takes a team effort. You can have two players to start, from your farm system, but you build it up and into a powerhouse, and that's really truly what happened, guys. We built it into a powerhouse where we were the face of baseball, and everybody hated us. The Mets are coming to town. You better be ready, because they not only play hard, but boy, they fight too, and they're dangerous. And people look at us from a totally different perspective than just being the New York Mets. That was a team that was in last place. We had a lot of respect, and we gained a lot of respect as we could both continue to move forward in our career.
84, you're knocking on the door. You lose out to the Cubs. 85, great race with the Cardinals. Come up short there. What did you learn in those 2 years that you were applied to the 86 season where it all kind of came together?
That nobody was going to ever step on our neck again. We wasn't going to allow that. We hated that. We came up short against the Cubs, and then when we came up short against the Cardinals, we won 98 games that season. That last series, that we played against the Cardinals was completely quiet in our locker room. And they were celebrating because they were going on to be in the playoffs, and we wasn't celebrating. And we were hungry. And I can tell you, that team came to spring training in '86. We didn't fart around. We got the business in '86. We got to working, and we realized that this is our year. Davey had our first meeting, and he says, we're going to win it all. And we kind of all looked around and thought to ourselves, you know what, we are going to win it all this year, because we're not going to let anybody overtake us anymore like we had those previous years. We knew that we had a team, and we knew that we were good enough, and we just had to put it all together as a group. And I think that's what we did, that spring training. Spring training is so important, and that's what we came out of spring training. We came out of spring training knowing we was good. The fact is that media was like saying, well, they started off slow. I thought they were going to run away with it. They didn't realize that it was just a matter of time before we got hot. And once we got hot, we knew it was over.
You mentioned the toughness of the team. I know one name that gets thrown around a lot in that conversation is Kevin Mitchell. How would you describe sort of the personality and toughness that Kevin brought to the team?
Kevin just brought a great personality that I would do anything and everything. And he always said, I was around a bunch of guys that helped me learn how to play baseball. And he fit right in with our group of guys of being on a part of what we wanted to accomplish that year. And that's to be at the best of every time we hit the field. And that's what Kevin Mitchell was. He was the best at everything that he did. He learned to do everything. He learned to play all kind of positions. He learned to do whatever his role was, and always being ready, and always had a positive upbeat. He was just one of the boys. Mm-hmm. And when you become one of the boys, see, a team becomes good when you are part of the team. When everybody's a part of the team, the whole bench and our bench players, nobody felt left out. And that's what I think was so important about us being so successful. And Kevin Mitchell was that big player that he felt like I fit right in with these guys. And I'm a rookie, and these guys accept me, and they bring me in. They love me and show me how this is supposed to be done. And now I can play at this level and not be afraid.
Talking to Darryl Strawberry, his number 18 will be retired coming up on Saturday over at Citi Field. When you look at 86, the highlight for me during the regular season was that game against the Reds, Ray Knight's fight with Eric Davis, when you had Jesse Orozco and Roger McDowell playing right field and coming in and out. Like, that was an amazing, amazing game. But you were best friends with Eric Davis. So, how did you deal with that fight and what it meant, standing up for your teammates, but also a kid you grew up with being on the other side?
Well, Eric, personally, is my best friend, and,
right.
And he knew exactly what it means to play against the Mets, and knowing that I'm going to stand on the side with who my teammates are on those particular situations. Me and him not going to fight in that situation, but if it's somebody else I got to get down with, I would get down with. But he just knew the fact that we were this team that you just didn't want to bother. You didn't want to try to push their buttons, because once you push their buttons and you get them started, it's hard to stop us. It's hard to stop us once you got us in those places like that, where it was time to fight. And I think that's what made us so special. Our team and our group of guys was not afraid. We didn't back down. We stood up for each other. We had each other back. People say, well, yeah, they were all crazy, and they were all like at each other's throats. Yeah, in-house stuff is real, but that's part of it. But outhouse stuff is real too. We don't allow the outhouse to get into our in-house. Our in-house is who we are, and we deal with the stuff that we have to deal with. But we're going to deal with this other stuff too, with other teams, to let them know you must respect us when we hit this field. Because if you don't respect us, we're going to throw down. And that's what I loved about that team so much, man. Because guys was all over the place for each other. If one couldn't get you, the rest of them going to get you when they get out there.
All right, Darryl, I got to ask you about the news of the day. I assume you've seen at this point that as of today, officially, the Negro League statistics have been added to the all-time Major League Baseball statistics. Curious to get your thoughts. Have you taken a look yet? Your impressions of this news for baseball history?
I haven't taken a look at it, but I'm really thankful for the history of that, the Negro League, of all those players who were phenomenal players who never had a chance to play in the major leagues. You think about Jackie Robinson, who opened the door for every player of color to play in the big leagues. No player of color being playing in the big leagues had it not been for Jackie Robinson being, opening up that door and that opportunity. So you're thankful that he did make it, but you are thankful for the other players that are getting the recognition of what they accomplished, because, player of colors just didn't have the opportunities back in those days. And I think a lot of players today don't really understand that, the importance of that. What color you are, you can be Latino or whatever, what color you are. You were not playing in the big leagues in those days. And those guys, make history being successful in the Negro League. Now they have a chance to be a player to have some type of recognition for what they really accomplished.
Now, I usually save this for Michael, Peter, because I always bring it up every time we have Darryl on. When I ask him, knowing the answer, who was better, the 86 Mets or the 98 Yankees? Why don't you let Peter and the world know again what team you think was better?
Oh, boy.
Why do we always got to go down that road?
Because I enjoy it, and I don't have very much as a Met fan right now.
Does.
So you know what? Give me this, please. They get everything else. Can we have just this?
Everybody fights to go down that road about the Yankees and of course the Mets, and they both were great teams. You let me just say this about these two teams. These are the greatest teams I've ever played on. It's the greatest baseball and the greatest city I've ever had a chance to play in and experience it from each side. The 86 Mets were a completely different wild set, wild animal house type of team. 98 Yankees was more of just a classic group of guys who loved to play and loved each other and helped each other. And, not that the 86 Mets didn't love each other and help each other, but we were in a time where New York was free and wide open, and we were hardcore baseball players. The 86 Mets, we lived a different lifestyle than compared to the 1998 Yankees. So I'm grateful for both of those teams that I had an opportunity to be successful with them, play with some wonderful guys. When I look back over my career, Jeter, Mo Sada, Bernie, Tino, Neil, just Brocious, so many guys. And then go to the Mets, Carter, Hernandez, Ray Knight, Lenny Dykstra, Mookie Wilson, Kevin Mitchell, Doc, and the Ron Darling pitcher staff. Wonderful athletes at the time of our plan. And they were very successful at doing it and doing it well. So each team gets a star from me, and I'm going to leave it at that.
Now, George gave you that second opportunity here in New York. What were some of the conversations like when he brought you in?
It was incredible. George was a remarkable person, very special man who loved people, cared about people who had trials and tribulations. That didn't fear him. That didn't shy him away from it. George was like a father to people. He was like someone, I want to fix your problem for you. and I want to help you. And it doesn't matter what anybody else has to say about it. That's the way he looked at you. And those are conversations I had with him. He was like, you think you're the only one have problems? He goes, I had some problems too. He's like, they suspended me from baseball. So I used to sit with him and laugh and talk to him about all kind of different things. But I think he's a wonderful family man, and his care and his love for not only here in New York, the Yankees, when I played for them, but I remember down in Tampa, Florida, how he used to care for the community. He used to always have me go into the communities, the Boys and Girls Club, and do things for them, and just pour positive affirmation into those young people's lives, too.
Well, listen, Darryl, we appreciate you always making time for us, and we appreciate getting to talk to you this week in particular, where we see that number 18 honored at Citi Field this Saturday. Have a wonderful day. Take it in. Take a look around. Soak in the moment. You are loved in this city, and we appreciate getting to share it with you a bit.
All right, guys. I appreciate you guys. Love you guys, too, man. I love New York City.
All right, man. You too. There he is, the great Darryl Strawberry.
And the way he's turned his life around. We had him on during the pandemic, I remember, and he gave great detail when his book came out of all the trials and tribulations there. But I just kind of wanted to celebrate the baseball part of it, too, because, God, him and Doc are just so entwined in this city. And it seems ridiculous for fans of a certain age that think, it's so Yankee dominant because of how good they've been, but I'm sorry, those two resonate as much as any ball player, any athlete in the history of New York. We could talk about who's a better athlete, but you see how Lawrence Taylor resonates, or Reggie Jackson, or go back into Patrick Ewing, or just whatever your favorite sport is, whoever your favorite athlete is in New York. The one thing you cannot deny, and Peter, you've said it as somebody that was not born here but seeing it from afar, how much those two still mean to the city.
Well, and every time we talk about it, I feel like we'll get a phone call from someone who questions whether they're worth it, and then whether they're worth the honor, and then you go through and you look at the statistics, and the fact of the matter is, I don't even think they need the statistics to have the numbers retired, right? I think that's what they mean to the fans.
Right.
But then Don, haven't you found that every time we've had the conversation and we've opened up the stats, you kind of end up getting a little impressed by some of the years that they were considered to be a lot leaner? They were still really good ball players.
But even beyond that, it's the whole pettiness of the way they exited, the fact that they ended up on the Yankees, the drug problems, the arrests, all the things that put a lot of people in a certain way, like they were undeserving of this honor. And then we've learned a lot. We've talked about this, Peter, that you grow up and you realize that they had a problem, that they were sick and they needed to get taken care of. And thank God they're still both with us. And Straw has done a tremendous job turning his life around and turning other people's lives around. They've been able to spin it into a positive, and to still hold bitterness.
And by the way, who the hell do you think you are?
Exactly.
To be a Mets fan and say, with as bad as things have been, to actually have the nerve to go, you know what? I can't believe we only got one. You better be happy with the one they gave you.
Well, yeah, but
that is the joy but that's a common argument. We should have had more. Well, you have one because of them. Without those two, I'm sorry, there were a lot of great players on that team. Gary Carter's an all-time great. Keith, Ron, a lot of great players on that team. Don, they're not winning that World Series without those two guys.
But they're also homegrown. You know how much New York loves that.
Love a homegrown.
And for the most part, we're going to have a few stragglers aside that have forgiven the both of them for their indiscretions and the way things exited. They're still beloved. You walk around Citi Field and you're still going to see 16 and 18 jerseys, and people are still going to appreciate those two. So, we've spent a lot of time with the both of them talking about their past, but I just wanted to celebrate the baseball, have some fun with Darryl. He's been somebody that's consistently been on this show. He's very giving of his time. He and Michael have a tremendous relationship as well. So that's going to be a lot of fun on Saturday. If I didn't have the commitment with the Rangers, I would definitely try to, get out there to be able to participate in that. But I'll be watching from afar, and it's going to take me back to my childhood. And unfortunately, it's the only championship that I have in my memory. I was only one when they won in '69, but even if the Mets win again or win several times, it's never going to be as special as '86.